see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Out There in the Dark. My name is Tom Alexander, and with me, as always, is Mr. Azed Majid. Hi, Azed.
Hi.
How are you?
Amazing.
You are amazing.
You are amazing. You are so beautiful.
Oh, my. Well, let's change the subject.
Do I have to? I want to continue doing my Joe Cocker impression.
We'll do that on the bonus episode.
Okay, yeah. for Patreon.
For our Patreon subscribers. Couple of things to talk about today. As I think most people know, a couple of weeks ago, we lost one of the real giants of American cinema. Robert Redford passed away at the age of 89 on September 16th.
Wow, 89. Pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, he always seemed like a very, healthy white man. Yeah.
He was.
Yes.
Obviously, he was an actor starting out in the 50s, became famous in the late 60s with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is such a great movie.
That is my favorite.
That's your favorite?
Robert Redford. That. Well, we'll go. You want to go through a quick list of your favorites, and I'll say my favorites. I'll just probably agree with yours.
Probably. Yeah.
That's what you paid me for.
Butch Cassidy never gets tired. It's
a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Do you notice the thing about Butch Cassidy that a lot of people might not get is it's kind of like a remake of Jules A. Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never thought of that.
It's got a lot of new wave influence, and I think that movie, especially because of the triangle between the two of them and Catherine Ross, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of share her, in the same way. It's not quite as, that's not the major thing, but it's definitely got a Jules and Jim quality to it.
She's kind of like the third wheel. The
love
story is really the two of them.
Yeah, but it's an interesting positioning because she's also, the beginning of the buddy film, right?
Yep.
Kind of like the homoerotic buddy film.
For sure.
And the woman, Catherine Ross, really acts as a kind of beard or a kind of, distraction so that these two guys don't have to be gay. It's like, put the woman in there.
100%.
There's a woman. They're fucking women, not men. They're not fucking each other. No.
It's funny
but of course they are. Yeah. Brokeback Mountain would bring that to
much,
yes, yeah.
Pretty much. And we talk about how Robert Redford and Paul Newman are like one of those great screen duos, but they really only made two films together. And the other one was The Sting, which was by the same director, George Rohill.
Which is also a good movie. It's
good.
It's
It's great. I rewatched that a couple of months ago, and it really holds up.
It's really like, it was a big movie when I was a kid. Everybody went to see it and all that kind of stuff. And it's a good one. Yeah, there was Butch Cassidy there, and then there was the one that like every my sister, like when we were kids, this was her favorite movie, I think. And then every woman I've ever met after that, from that age group, was The Way We Were, right?
I've never seen The Way We Were.
What?
I know.
I've seen it like 50 times because of my sister. And, Way We Were is an interesting movie. It's obviously a very romance-based kind of thing, but it also takes place during like, just before the Second World War, right? Like it's like there's a lot of politics in it because they're very lefty.
Yeah.
And they call it like the Barbra Streisand character.
She's more lefty.
She's more lefty. He's more like sort of conservative, and that's the sort of conundrum between the two of them, right? But yeah, not a bad movie. It's a good movie, right?
Yeah.
But that was what he was known for, right?
Yeah, that was such a huge hit.
He was known for being a sort of a pretty boy, right? I read some things this week about like bigger actors like Robert De Niro, and I can't remember who the other guy was now, but basically saying that they thought he was a lightweight as an actor, right?
Yeah, he only got one Oscar nomination for acting, and that was a nomination for The Sting.
Oh, for The Sting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good in a. Yeah, I mean the the other one that you were saying you just watched again the other night was All the President's Men, which I think is probably his best movie.
I think so.
He made some 70s movies too that were kind of culty, like
3 Days of the Condor.
3 Days of the Condor, The Candidate.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Jeremiah Johnson. They use that now as meme all the time.
That's the meme. Yeah. That's looking at you.
That's the hey, I got you kind of meme. Yeah.
There's your legacy, Mr. Redford.
Yeah. And Downhill Racer he did, which was a Michael Ritchie film.
Downhill Racer I talked a little bit about when we did our episode on Gene Hackman.
Oh, yeah.
Because Gene Hackman played his coach. So
Right.
Robert Redford is a skier on the Olympic team, but
Right.
he's kind of an asshole and kind of uses people on his way up. And I can kind of see why people might think Redford as an actor was certainly not in the realm of like De Niro or Pacino or people like that. But he had a certain magnetism for sure. Obviously, he's an extremely handsome guy.
Yeah, he was extremely handsome. He was funny.
He was funny.
He could be very charming, funny, and all that
Butch
stuff.
Cassidy in The Sting. He's
I think he could be very wooden at times when I think when he was trying to downplay in a sense, like he was not good at that because he was. I think the thing about him is that he was he obviously became a director and then he started the Sundance Film Festival and all that stuff. So he had a very, very huge impact on films and on.
I mean, when we talk about American independent cinema, we often talk about the filmmakers like Jim Jarmusch or John Cassavetes, but really Robert Redford has probably done more for American independent cinema thanks to the Sundance Film Festival and the Sundance Institute. It's just about anybody else.
I think so. I mean, I think that almost is in some ways like his best work, right?
Exactly.
And now as a director, he made quite a few films, and he did. I think in a way his film Ordinary People, which I have a love-hate relationship with.
I have a love-love relationship with.
I have a love-hate. But, I have a lot of lines from that movie that me and my brother do. But, it's like, it's cheesy, but, it's a good, solid movie, fine movie. But the thing about it is that it really represents him, right? Mm-hmm. He's from that waspy, conservative, you don't show your feelings, Anglo-Saxon kind of,
Mary Tyler Moore's character.
Mary Tyler Moore's character is like...
She's incredible in the film, too.
She is really good in the film. She's, like, scary, right?
Yep.
And, and so I think that's very, very much his whole career, right? He was like a person who played that guy, right? The white, waspy, repressed American guy.
And it works. He does it well. What makes All the President's Men work in that way is that his more wooden, more like straight up reporter is contrasted with Carl Bernstein, played by Dustin Hoffman, who's a bit more nervous, a lot more like...
He's Jewish. He's got more of that kind of Jewish, neurotic New Yorker thing, right?
Yeah. So they make such a great on-screen couple.
Yeah.
Plus
the
Jew
itself. And the goy. That's what you call that.
Plus the whole movie is like incredible, But
yeah, it's a great movie, and it's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it. All the President's Men, Alan J. Pakula, right?
Yep.
Jason Robards is great in that movie.
My God.
He
Everybody's so great.
Yeah, and it's very.
All these characters.
There's no fat on it, right? As they say, right? It's like very taut, very tight. Mm-hmm. There's no like romances going on or side plots. It's just all the story, and it's a mesmerizing movie, right? So yeah, Robert Redford. I'm sure a lot of 60-year-old women are very, very sad this week. But anyway, we say goodbye to. I have a lot of respect for Robert Redford.
Absolutely,
for sure.
No, he's wonderful. And also we had the Toronto Film Festival.
We did. We live in Toronto.
Ago. We do, folks.
Yeah, and Toronto is one thing. Like I love Toronto and I love living here, and I've always loved Toronto. But obviously it's got super bad problems as well, like any other place. But the one thing about Toronto that I've always loved is it's a big movie town, right? Yeah. It's always, people here are into movies, sometimes in an annoyingly, kind of...
like us.
No. I would say, like you. No, just kidding. No. No, but, there are, this is a queue-up city, right? Yeah. Like, people in Toronto, I don't know why, but they love to stand in a line for 7 hours to get in to see something that they're going to be able to stream next week, right?
Exactly.
But you got to love that about Toronto as well, because I've been going to this I mean, I didn't go that much this year. I only went to see one movie. I know you went to quite a few more.
Well, it's work for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're it's work for me too. But I'm not gonna seriously. The prices this year were absolutely nuts.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because I actually wanted to go see. I think Frankenstein was the gala.
Yeah.
I thought, let me go see that. $250 for tickets.
Yeah,
for a movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's just the exploitation that
because TIFF uses Ticketmaster for their tickets.
Right.
I mean, there's the face value, but then things sell out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then everything goes on a resale. And then that gets skewed so you go to buy a ticket for a movie that's been sold out and has a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And it's like $300.
So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the festival for people who don't know a lot about the Toronto Film Festival. And then we can move on to talk about particular things we saw. I only saw the one, but you can talk about some. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about the festival itself and how it's changed over the years. And, I know that back in the day when I was at university, I used to write for my school newspaper at York University, and I was a film reviewer, so I used to go for free, right? But even then, what you would do when this was back in the 90s, so but what you would do is the festival would come, there'd be all these movies you'd never heard of, right? Mm-hmm. And I would go to a 10 o'clock in the morning movie, then I would walk over to another theater that was across the street or something, go see a 1 o'clock movie, then walk over down, take the subway down to another place to see a 3 o'clock movie. And I would just walk in because there wasn't this kind of elite kind of high ritzy, whatever, thing.
Red carpet.
Yeah. I mean, there was always celebrities, but they weren't huge celebrities coming, and, I mean, I think that started more in the early 2000s kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, the festival certainly has evolved or de-evolved, depending on your point of view. Devolved. Because when I started going back when, I guess, in high school, and I was growing up in Oshawa, and then I would take a GO train out and go see movies. And you're absolutely right. I wouldn't even have a ticket. I would just show up.
Just show up and you were going to
walk
get in.
Yeah. And
that's just not possible anymore.
And now it certainly is possible, but I was on quite a few screenings that weren't full, and you could line up in a rush line and get in, or
that's
they
true.
Even sold out. But it became a lot more commercial over the years. It became a lot less audience friendly and a lot more as part of. I mean, it is probably the most important film festival in North America.
It is, but they know it,
and
right?
Worldwide. Probably Cannes or Berlin are the two more significant festivals.
Yeah, I know Toronto. No, Toronto is big, on the world stage in terms of what happens here tends to set a lot of trends, right?
Yeah,
and that's great for Toronto, and it's great. And I like I said, this is a great movie town, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't have a great movie industry, but which I think is something we should be fixing in this country. But we'll see.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, I mean. But I would say that festivals are supposed to be for the people, right? They're for people. There should be a community-based organization, and not, we do too much of this already, which we cater to the rich and powerful, and try to get it, big celebs and whatever, and big deals and all that stuff. And I know that's all important and it's good for the city, but I really think that they've gone way too far, and they need to kind of, because the other thing is they've closed down so many theaters. You used to be able to go see a lot of these movies in smaller theaters, which is nice. You feel like you're more, taking part in a kind of traveling around to different theaters and seeing different kinds of movies.
They really only
right?
take over two theaters. They take over the Lightbox because that's the TIFF venue,
yeah,
obviously,
and that's good.
And they take over the Scotiabank.
But the Scotiabank is not good. I think that's a terrible venue to it's got a good screen and all that stuff, but
it's good when you're festival going because there's so many theaters inside the complex.
But
so it's easy to go from one to another.
I know, but if you look at something like Sundance, right? It's a totally different setup, right? It's the town is built around the festival, right? So there's all these things and Cannes as well, right? So I think one thing about Toronto is they should have a center. I mean, they have Lightbox, but they should have a particular theater as well that is for galas and all that kind of stuff, right? And they should pepper out different kinds of screenings, if it's Midnight Madness and stuff. They should try some local like review cinema or something. Like we have a lot of the secondhand cinemas here that are great, or the Paradise or something like that. They should make it more of like a community event.
Yeah, the problem is that they've moved. Remember when it used to be Uptown? So remember when the TIFF was like, and back then,
Yeah, but
where
Bloor,
it was like young and Bloorish, and you'd walk from say the Cumberland to the Uptown, and you would be passing like big celebrities just walking from one theater to
exactly.
another.
I met
and nobody was harassing.
No, I know. I
anything.
met Quentin Tarantino at the Uptown, right?
Yeah.
And so and it's like and then there was there was that one across the street from the Uptown, slightly south of there, that was like another theater. And then there was the Balmudo Theater. That was
behind the Uptown.
Yeah, and then there was the Varsity. So like there was a number of like we only have a few theaters left now, right? And
they made it so compact downtown. So you got Scotiabank, and then a block away from that is Lightbox,
Yeah.
and then down on Simcoe is Roy Thompson Hall, where the galas are.
Yeah.
And everything is kind of in the same like 3-block radius.
Yeah. But I think that's just my one biggest complaint is over the years I stopped going, right?
A lot of people stopped going.
Because it was too expensive, it's too much trouble, and especially if you're at the time that I was working full time, like how am I going to take a week off to go see all these movies, right? So I thought it was made very difficult for the everyday average viewer, somebody who's not in the industry, or I mean I was, but I'm saying for people who aren't in the industry and don't have a lot of access to I can't spend like $1,000 on a pass, kind of thing. They should be aiming more of the work towards an international community. Have a lot more small independent movies. I mean, they do, but they need more. Like
they do, but they don't
tend
get
to focus.
pushed,
Yeah,
right?
they tend to get they focus on the big blockbusters, which come on, like we don't need that at festivals. We need the festival to be something that unearths, hidden gems, right? That's what the point is.
My big problem with the programming is often around the streamers. So when they start playing movies from Netflix that are going to be on, Netflix in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like
I know what I don't
like
understand.
you're saying no to all these Canadian independent films that they turn down. Or
I know, like
other,
what chance? Like Netflix is always going to have a platform, but yeah, some dude from Scarborough who's making his first feature, and it's pretty damn good and whatever. He may get a sale, he may not. But this is where you should be pushing the people, right? And yeah, I think this is a big reform that needs to happen with TIFF, because
they'll play these Netflix or Apple films like 6 or 7 times.
I know, and the people will go, and that's the thing that I don't like about what's been added, which is that like much of the rest of the world, I guess, we kind of worship the wrong thing. This is a film festival. It's supposed to be about art. It's supposed to be about innovative storytelling or innovative craft.
I'm not
but
trashing
what they do is
films themselves. I saw like 3 or 4.
I know, but what they
films
do
that were
here
good.
is they're pushing celebrity, big blockbuster, again, stuff that you can see next week, and it's like propaganda, right? Because people get all excited to go. I was saying to you, like, I really wanted to go see Frankenstein, but as soon as I saw the $200 ticket or whatever, I was like, what are you, like, that's when you're going, what's wrong with people, right?
So TIFF has positioned themselves as sort of the start of the big fall prestige festival film season,
Right.
where all the films are going to be like big Oscar contenders and win awards. And it's often the case where the TIFF People's Choice Award, which is voted on by the ticket buying public,
Right.
often goes on to win Oscars for Best Picture or gets nominated.
Right.
I mean, last year was a bit of an anomaly. The last year's winner was The Life of Chuck,
Oh, yeah.
Mike Flanagan film starring Tom Hiddleston,
Right.
which I thought was pretty good. I
Right.
didn't love it.
I never saw it.
Yeah, and then, but it wasn't like a fall. They always plan on opening it in the summer,
Right.
And it wasn't really an Oscar contender. Maybe this year it'll get something. Who knows?
Well, this year the winner was Hamnet, you said,
This
right?
year the winner
Yeah.
was Hamnet, which I saw, which was Chloe Zhao's film of based on a novel where William Shakespeare and his wife they have a son named Hamnet who dies when he's 11. He dies
Right.
of the plague, and that inspires Shakespeare to write Hamlet.
Right.
And it is a beautiful film.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Oh,
The whole theater
You're
was
saying deserving,
sobbing.
right? Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't my favorite film of the festival, but yeah, I mean, I can't argue, and I think it's a strong Oscar contender for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I only saw one film. I got a free ticket from my bro So I went to see it, and I really wanted to see this movie. So I saw the Jafar Panahi movie. It was just an accident that won the Palme d'Or this year. So I'll talk about that movie because that's the only one I saw. And then why don't you start us off, Tom, and talk about some of the movies you saw, your favorites and whatnot, ones you didn't like so much.
Yeah, well, the first film I saw was, of course, the opening night gala, which was a documentary called John Candy, I Like Me, which is very meh.
Yeah, it was meh.
It was meh. I mean, John Candy, super nice guy. Maybe a little bit too nice, because if you make a film about a really nice guy, it's just a bunch of other people talking about how nice he is.
Right.
And that was the movie.
Right.
That's it.
He never raped any hookers or anything like that.
No, he did not. So, he did not.
That's what we like, isn't it? Like, yeah, that's what we
like.
want.
We like. If you're gonna make a documentary about a celebrity, have some,
have some meat
drama.
On it. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not expecting like Amy Winehouse film, but
right.
I mean, yeah.
But you want something like the Richard Gere putting like gerbils up his ass, something like that.
That's yeah. I think that was on the cutting room floor.
That was. If I make a movie about Richard Gere, I'm gonna include an animated sequence.
I had a blast watching, of course, because I'm a huge Elvis fan, a film called Epic, Elvis Presley in Concert. So this was by Baz Luhrmann. I think it's the first documentary he's done. Obviously, he made Elvis a few years ago. This is his companion doc, where he unearths all of this never-before-seen footage from his Vegas concerts and some audio and stuff, and it was a blast. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun.
Really?
It was great.
So it was well done.
Great. It was really well done. And I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann fan, and I had a lot of problems with Elvis, his film, before, but this was a blast.
Okay. Yeah. Elvis. Did any shots of him like on the toilet or
no. I'm
or like
no.
ordering like a peanut butter banana fried sandwich?
Cutting room floor.
Okay.
I mentioned Hamnet already. I'm going to talk about two more films that I really loved. One is a Brazilian film called The Secret Agent, and this won some awards at Cannes as well.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah. It was excellent. Wow, this is a kick-ass movie.
So tell me about that one.
It's by a filmmaker, I'm going to screw up the name, Kleber Mendonça Filho.
Okay.
And Wagner Moura plays a Brazilian kind of an agent who's on the run from the new fascist government in 1970s.
Okay.
And trying to hide out and trying to, not get killed.
And you like that one?
It was excellent.
Okay.
It was great. But probably my favorite film is called The Voice of Hind Rajab.
Oh, yeah.
And this one's by a Tunisian filmmaker named Kauthar Benhania. She did a film a few years ago called Four Daughters, which was also excellent.
Yeah.
So this film's based on a true story. Hind Rajab was a 5-year-old Palestinian girl who talks to the volunteer emergency services in Palestine to try to get rescued. She's trapped in a car. Her family has been massacred in the car. She's the only one alive, and the war is going on around her. And what the filmmaker does is, although it's all recreated with actors, so it's a narrative film.
Right.
The audio of the phone conversations is all real.
Yeah, that was
It is such a powerful film.
I remember when that all went down, because I know when the protesters in Colombia took over one of the buildings, they renamed it the Hind Building, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I knew about this story when it actually happened, and there was a bit of a controversy, obviously, that they were even showing that movie. I'm glad that you recommended that movie. Is it hard to watch?
It's really intense. It's at times quite hard to watch. The audience was... I saw it at the first public screening. There was a protest outside supporting Palestine, and or a demonstration, and it was a very solemn affair. Certainly, the screening.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah,
like everybody has to see this movie.
That's great. And so, a Tunisian filmmaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Tunisia's entry for the International Feature Oscar.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I really want to see that one. So I'm sure it'll get some kind of release at some point, right? Yeah. Yeah,
and I also really liked Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro.
I'm really dying to see that.
Yeah. It's going to play. It's coming out in theaters in middle of October. It's a Netflix film, but it was it was really good.
Please tell us what you really think about Netflix, man. Yeah, I understand that whole Netflix bleh kind of thing, though. I mean, it's like, yeah, like,
Well, I was just bitching about how
they
so
just,
many slots at TIFF are taken up by these streamers.
I know.
And the building as well.
I know. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I also feel like we should write a letter. Can we write a letter on air, maybe, like to Netflix and say, hey, like, we open letter to Netflix. If you're going to put grade A level, high budget, big director movies out, don't play them on your streaming service for like a year. Give it some exclusivity so that people feel like it's not something.
It's exclusive in theaters for a week.
I know, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, it's crazy when you can see, like, something like I don't know, Rules of the Game, and then right next to it, Weekend at Bernie's. Like, don't do that. Don't you
what
see
algorithm is going on here?
I don't know what algorithm. That's the thing. It's like the high and the low together, right? Like, and it what it does is it diminishes all of the titles, right? So when you're looking at a thing of Netflix titles, like if you actually just look at what is next to it, you'll find some brilliant movies in there,
but they're
next
buried.
to some horrible, and it's like, don't you see that, the medium is the message, as Marshall McLuhan would say? It's like you're comparing, you're saying that all of this stuff is in the same candy bowl, right? And it's like, no, some of this stuff doesn't belong there. It's not candy. It's actually more nutritious, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Netflix is a movie studio, but really, and it's actually just a tech company.
It is,
really, and that's how that works.
Yeah, I agree.
Having said that, I saw some great Netflix films.
Of course, they make good movies. Yes, they do. Yes.
Train Dreams was really, really good with Joel Edgerton. The Knives Out movie, I really like the Knives Out movies, and this one, the third one. I know you don't like them.
Those are awful.
Yeah, whatever.
We should talk about them. Why they're awful.
But Frankenstein and by the way, Frankenstein should be seen on a big screen.
So we're gonna save that. We're gonna do a whole big special on Halloween this year on the whole Frankenstein.
Stay tuned,
movies, folks. Everything, right?
So I'll save it for then.
Because I do find that Frankenstein is one of the most enduring myths that we have at film, especially for
I'm
film.
Obsessed. Yeah,
and I love Frankenstein. I love the book.
And it permeates so much of our culture.
It is, especially with the Frankenstein monsters that are running tech companies now, right?
Well, the Apprentice, the Donald Trump Cohn film, is really a Frankenstein story.
It is. I mean, a lot of the stuff I get reminded of Frankenstein a lot, because when you look at someone like Peter Thiel or Elon Musk, they're like Dr. Frankensteins, right? Like, when you want to live forever, how is that any different from reanimating corpses, right?
Exactly.
So I think that it's a very relevant myth for us.
And there's a lot, and it's that kind of thing is echoed quite a lot in Del Toro's film as well. So,
yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
It's
cool.
A fascinating film.
Well, that's good. But
so it was a good TIFF in that sense. I mean, for myself, because I work for a film distribution company, TIFF for me is work. So although I do see a lot of films like these Netflix movies that I enjoy, most of my screenings are taken up at films that we're looking to acquire.
Right.
Or we're showing, the company I work for had 9 films at TIFF this year. So it was also part of the showcasing those. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. And you said there was one film that you really liked or something, but that you guys are also handling?
Which one? Oh, all of our films are good. All of them.
Right.
What was the one?
It was I think the one you already talked about, the
Voice of Hind Rajab.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of distributors are looking at that film. Someone will pick it up. It's stunning.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll do really well for whoever picks it up, because I think everybody's going to want to see that movie.
I think so. I hope so.
Anything else?
No.
No big celebs?
I was so busy just screening films. I mean, I must have seen like 25 films.
Yeah,
really.
Wow.
I just gave you some of the highlights, really, but no, there were a lot of bbig celebs, but I didn't see them.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, as I said, I only went to see the one film. It's the Jeff Harpanai, who's an Iranian filmmaker of a lot of distinction, and it's called It Was Just an Accident. Now, first of all, for people who don't know, Iranian cinema is probably one of the biggest recent, like the last 30 years or whatever, has become one of the most, superlative film industries in the world, like in terms of productions and their filmmakers. They've produced so many great, like Abbas Kiarostami and Moussa Makhmalbaf and Jafar
These are some of the
Panahi.
greatest films.
Some
ever
of the
made.
greatest films of the last 30 years, for sure, without a doubt. Either like
Exactly.
like just so that's another. So it's one thing like for the average normie, Iran always. You think Iran, you think ayatollahs and crazy Muslims running around, death to America and all that shit. But you cannot society's film productions says so much more about who they are as people, right? Rather than any particular snapshot of politics in a particular time, right? And Iranian cinema is probably one of the most humane cinemas I've ever seen from any country, right?
No question.
Yeah, and that is very important because people have to understand that the people and the culture and the history of Iran is not what's going on with their leadership, right? And so just as a preface to say, this is one thing about cinema that I love. Cinema is very, very international. I mean, people who love movies will eventually, you might start out loving Marvel movies, but if you really love movies and you really want to get into movies and all that stuff, you're going to watch international cinema, right? And it's more of an ambassador in many ways than any kind of,
That's a good point.
delegated official, right? So I would encourage people to watch as many Iranian films as you want, but watch movies from around the world. And not just because you're trying to be like pretentious art guy, it's because you learn a lot about the culture and the people. Right?
I think a lot of people think that it's like homework. Like if like that foreign language films are probably, they're above my head, or they're too intimidating, or it feels like film school. But that's not the case at all.
Well, it's because people are like. So I took a course in my final year, which was a graduate level course, Godard, Bresson, Ozu, Dreyer. Okay, so I had never seen any of these people's movies before. I mean, Godard I had seen, but and a lot of people in this class were falling asleep during these movies by Bresson and Dreyer.
They're too transcendental.
Exactly. So, but the thing is, we talked about it in class one day, and somebody said, "I can't stay awake for these movies," and the prof said, "Of course you can't." Right? He said, "You're not trained to watch movies like this. You're trained to expect a 3-act structure, right? Where there's a very clear. There are points of where you're getting bored. They know, like the structure knows, and it starts to give you a car chase at that point, or a romance scene, or something that's going to get the dopamine flowing, right?
Right.
And he said because you don't get those beats in a lot of foreign cinema." And especially deliberate cinema, like filmmakers who have like a more philosophical, concept or a humanitarian concept. Of course, you're going to fall asleep because you think, where's my car chase? Where's the explosion? Yeah. Right? Now, that it doesn't have to be something like car chase or explosion, but there's a whole formula for how storytelling works, and it's not across the board. It's not a universal. Western movies, European movies have a particular style that comes from Hollywood,
again,
right?
The 3-act structure, the character archetypes.
Yeah, exactly. We're into big sociopaths here. We love that, So, but yeah. So when you look at films from like Iran and stuff, or like whatever, you might say, like somebody said this about. Just to keep on the subject for a second, I just watched with my son and my friend Rui, we watched that movie Charluta by Satyajit Ray, which is after the Pather Panchali series, right, or after the Apu trilogy. And it was very slow. And that's a complaint that people say. It's slow. But there's no such thing as slow in terms of slow equaling bad, right?
No.
So that's where there's a problem.
Or even boring.
Or boring, exactly. There's deliberately paced, right? And if you don't have the attention span to sit and immerse yourself fully in a movie, you're not going to, of course, you're going to find these slow and boring, right?
Well,
but
one of the first films that you and I talked about on this podcast was Gentilman.
Yeah,
which is
that was
part
our
of this,
that was our inaugural
episode.
Yeah,
and that's the most famous example of the slow cinema movement.
Yeah,
and it's completely hypnotic.
It's mesmerizing.
Yeah,
but you have to have the capacity to engage and immerse, right? Like you have to go into the world. If you reject that because you're like, what the fuck is going on? I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting. Like, where's the jokes? Where's the
right.
black stand-up comic who's going to come in and like be the sidekick and make me laugh? Where's the
Chris Tucker?
Yeah, exactly. Where's Chris Tucker or Eddie Murphy or whatever, right? But so that's all I'm saying. It's not really an insult or a put down. It's just saying you have to kind of learn. It's like an acquired taste, right? But you're going to find like. So let's talk about this Jafar Panahi movie, okay? You're going to find that these guys are, they're not as far removed from Hollywood cinema as you think, because Hollywood cinema has had an influence on the entire world culture, right? So,
French New Wave.
Yeah, and same with the Iranian films. They follow along in a kind of Hollywood tradition, but they obviously are very experimental about it, right? With this one, Panahi is a guy who's been under house arrest many times and under real arrest by the Iranian regime because he's considered too much of a radical, and his movies are considered radical. And, a really fascinating human being, a real hero, I think, because he's constantly been putting out movies, even when he was banned from making movies. He did that famous movie, This Is Not a Movie, which he, had, secretly got out apparently, and then it showed, and it's a great movie, and he did this beautiful movie, 20 years ago called The White Balloon, which was a huge international hit, and it's beautiful. Like that's a movie. He's a great director. This is his latest movie, It Was Not an Accident, and it was shot in secret. But it was shot differently in a sense that he did have a crew, and usually he's kind of just shooting stuff himself. But he had a crew, but it was still shot in secret, and this, it's a little different from his usual movies. It won the Palme d'Or this year, and it was a really brilliant movie. I really loved it. But it's different in the sense that, well, here the story really quickly is you see a guy at the beginning with his family, like a youngish man with his wife and young daughter in the car, and they're coming at night. They're driving on the highway and they're coming back from some event. I think it's the child's had a school thing, and then they hit something, and he gets out. You don't see what they've hit, but they mention that it's a dog, right? And after that happens, about a few miles down the road, the car starts having trouble, and they stop randomly in front of this garage, right? This, like, it's nighttime, everything's closed. But this guy comes up who works at the garage. He drives his motorcycle up, and he opens up the gate. So the guy says, "Can you help me out?" And from that point on, the guy who owns the garage, who's in the garage, and he's upstairs, he hears this guy talking to the other employee who works at the garage, right? So you see this, kind of like from his perspective, and you hear this squeaking, and it's this guy has a fake leg, okay? And he just see this guy like freak out, and you don't know why, right? And he's just watching, and he's watching from above, and then when the guy leaves, he immediately gets in his car and follows, and you don't know why he's doing this, right? You suspect that there's something going on between these two, but it also seems so random that, like, he just heard this guy's squeaking leg, and he was like, but he follows him. Then, and this guy who's doing it is like very, very likable. Like he's like a kind of a grubby, middle-aged guy, very sweet looking, but then he kidnaps the guy the next day and puts him in his trunk, takes him out to the desert, and is going to, and then he says, and then the story comes out, "I remember that squeak," he says, "from when I was being tortured by you under the regime. So I know who you are." So it's a very reminiscent of another movie and another play called Death and the Maiden.
Yeah, the Polanski film.
Yeah, and Ariel Dorfman play, right? And it's very similar in that sense, because it's like about, again, that person, the person who has been tortured. You're not sure whether or not they're pinpointing the right person here, right? And so what this guy does is he's got this guy in, basically in an open grave. He's going to bury him alive. But the guy says, it's not me. Whenever he says, I recognize, and then he says, no, but I'll recognize that squeaking leg anywhere. He goes, I just got this last year. They all squeak, right? And he gives enough doubt to this guy that he then just kind of knocks him out, puts him back in the back of his van, and then drives to meet these other people. So this is the interesting thing. There are all these other friends of his throughout the city. Oh. So he goes to this bookstore. This friend of his who owns a bookstore also was tortured during the regime. And again, they don't speak specifically about the Iranian regime, but they say tortured by the regime. He says, I want you to come out and look at this guy and say that it's him, right? And this guy refuses to do that. He says, it's time. Let's just let it go. Then he goes to a wedding photographer who's a woman who's a friend of his, who's taking pictures at a not at the wedding, but at the day before the wedding, like a love walk or whatever. And all three of them are also former torture victims. Jeez. So now it's him, a bride, and her groom, like dressed in a bride, as a bride and groom, the photographer, and then they go to get the photographer's boyfriend, who's this real hothead, and they're all now driving around in this van trying to figure out what to do with this guy. Is this the guy or not, right? Some of them are like, just kill him. Let's just kill him. Yeah. Like, what's the difference? But his doubt is, and some of the other people's doubt is like, we can't be sure, and they don't want to do something. Yeah. So anyway, that's the basic premise. It's also, oddly, a very funny movie. Because it's like a kind of a road movie almost, with this kind of macabre thing happening, but the characters are very real, and they say a lot of funny things. That's
one of the great things about Iranian cinema too, is the use of humor. Because obviously there's a lot of heavy subject matter in some of them, or like a film like Close Up, where it's sort of meta textual layers.
Yeah.
But then there'll be a little splash of something
that's the humanity. It's
great.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like and the point of it is that it's the humor and the kind of everydayness of these people, right? They're just like people you would hang out with at any point, right? With your friends or whatever. And also that they've endured all this suffering and this torture, and yet they're trying to get on with their lives, right? But then this comes in, like, what's justice, right? How do you you can't just let it go. At the same time, do you have a right or an obligation to do something about this guy if you find him, right? So, very intense movie. I found it the most narrative and sort of more Hollywoody film out of all of his movies. Yeah. I think there's a little bit of Hitchcock in there. There's a little bit of suspensey stuff. Really good though. Really,
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
It was great. It was really. It's also come back into my mind a lot, right? Because that whole idea, the way he plays with, the way he criticizes, and this is something that we could learn, as filmmakers, all of us in North America, a bit more, is the way he criticizes the regime is not straightforward, right?
Right.
He'll show, for example, there's a scene where he takes a woman to the hospital. It's the wife of the guy. She's pregnant, right? And she doesn't know anything about. Anyway, it's just through these random. So the guy who's kidnapped her husband winds up taking the wife to the hospital because she's about to have birth, right? And when they get there, there's the woman the nurse behind the desk says, "And do you have any gifts for us?" Right? It's like, you see, so if you've ever been to any of these, like, I'm from Pakistan originally, and I've been to Pakistan, and I have been stopped at the border and asked for a gift. And what that means is it's bribery, right? And it's entrenched in the system as, and you don't bring a gift, right?
That's in the first scene of The Secret Agent as well.
Oh, yeah. So this is part of the grift that's woven into the system, right? And another point in the movie where they're being harassed by some police saying, "We want to look inside your van," and they say, this is really funny. They say, "Well, how about we give you a gift?" And they're like, "Okay." And they said, "We don't have any cash." They said, "It's okay, we take debit." right? And so, he's got his phone and he takes a debit. So it's so entrenched that, whatever. And that's the critique right there, mostly. There's no talk about politics really in that sense or anything else like that. It's just that it's woven in. And so there's a lot of subtlety and nuance in the movie that you have to kind of think through, right? And go, oh, so, this is the society they still live in, right? And why it led to a kind of horrible dictatorship that led to torture and killings and stuff, right?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier how film buffs should be watching more international films from other countries to learn more about those societies.
Right.
But you'll also see them and see yourself in those characters.
For sure.
Right? So when you watch international films, it'll remind you that no matter where you're from, there are certain elemental things about us that are...
There are universals.
That are universal. Right?
That we all share in, right?
That's a movie like Bicycle Thieves, one of my absolute favorite films. It's such a simple, unpretentious movie, and it's one that anybody can relate to.
Yeah, breaks your heart every single time.
We've all been in situations that are scenes from that film, which is an Italian film from the 1940s.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, that's what I'm saying. To a certain extent, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think cinemas are one of our potential saving graces, right? Mm-hmm. What can save us from, I mean, it's not an accident that when, more authoritarian regimes come into power, the first thing they do is take over the media, right? They take over the television, they take over the radio, they take over movies.
Look what's happening
like
in
Iran.
US.
Yeah, I know. And in Iran, when the Ayatollah in the 79 revolution, the first thing he did, I remember reading this, was he stopped showing all Hollywood movies. Now, why would you do that? It's just movies, right? Who cares, right? It's just everybody just watches movies for fun, right? Well, no, they understand. These guys understand what kind of messages subliminally come through Western films, which is freedom, liberation, women should be free, sexuality, all kinds of different. You should accept everybody for who they are. All those liberal sort of Democrat, not anymore, but not now, not with that.
Well, the US
not with the Ayatollah Trump. But that's why. I mean, we downplay the importance and the relevance of cinema and other media, perhaps. But cinema, I think, is still one of the biggest.
Yeah.
I would say maybe content, in quotes, is kind of like taking over that. But cinema has always been a vehicle for getting across political, cultural ideas that are not accepted by the dominant ideology and the power players of the day, and great filmmakers like Panay know how to weave those things in a way that are not going to get them in too much trouble, but they're actually very trenchant criticisms that speak in the everyday of how this affects people, right?
And cinema is so popular that if that message comes across, to the vast majority of people who will see it.
Yeah.
So going back to a film we talked about earlier, All the President's Men.
Yeah.
Which is a Hollywood movie, with big movie stars, and it is a very, very powerful film.
It is.
And there's just these little ways that the film, like even something as influential as just common vernacular. The phrase "follow the money."
Yeah,
that came from All the President's Men.
Yeah, follow the money, exactly. Yeah.
So that's kind of pretty subversive in a way.
It is. I mean, I think, the thing about All the President's Men, and this was maybe the last era of a kind of cinema that was about sort of trying to get politics right. Trying to be almost documentary, even in your big blockbuster movie, and that's gone now, of course, because of people like Oliver Stone and whatever they, Tarantino, who like to do like these, revisionist kind of things or conspiracy movies, which is fine. But I think it's really ruined us as like what you see with All the President's Men are two very dedicated, very focused journalists, right? They're not like trying to deal with all the everything around them, all the other shit that's going on. They're just basically focused on getting this president, right? Like finding out what happened here, right? And they brought down the whole presidency with that, right?
Yeah.
And I think the message is you know, and with Penai's film too, because it has a fascinating ending, this movie, where you're not, you're left in this kind of strange, you know, doubt, right?
Right.
And I think that that's important, because I think the overall message here is ultimately your humanity is the only thing that can save you, right? That you understand that everybody, in a sense, is a victim under a autocratic regime. You know,
yeah, even the
it's
regime
like
itself.
it's like the Jews who helped the capos. You know, the ones who helped the Nazis. They had like they say this about like that guy George Soros, right? They say that he was one of those guys, right? That basically during the Holocaust there were Jews who were conscripted, so to speak, to work the camps, and they are considered the worst within the Jewish community. They're like the biggest traitors, and they helped, right, kill so many of their fellow Jewish prisoners. But on another level, you understand that those people were victims too,
of course,
right? And they really didn't have that much of a choice. I'm sure maybe some of them did it gleefully, like somebody like Stephen Miller, who's like a fucking Goebbels lookalike asshole fuckface.
Yeah,
you know. And he's Jewish, and yet he's acting like a Nazi. So, you know, you can see how he would have been one of those guys, right? So, yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's this kind of idea. Humanity is the idea that you understand the other. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not even that difficult, right?
It's so difficult for so many people.
I know,
they need to be other, you know, from not just politically, but socially, other races, other, you know, religions,
other genders, again, we're saying two really interesting things here. Difference is important to respect and understand. Everybody is an individual, but we're a community too, right?
Right.
And it's both. It's not one, right? You can't say, "Oh, I don't want to take fucking vaccines because I'm fucking idiot." Okay? Because you live in our society. If you want to live in our society and you want to go to our schools and our institutions, you want to work in our whatever places, you can't walk around with disease all over you, okay? And infect other people because, you know, I don't want to wear a mask, you know, like, you know, that kind of like aggressive individualism is really a form of kind of libertarianism, authoritarianism, which is like, which is basically like, if I don't want to do something, I'm so important and supreme, those rules don't apply to me, man.
We all need empathy in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, people like that have no empathy.
None.
None.
Well, and you know, empathy is a bad word, apparently, according to, you know, the recently assassinated Charlie Kirk. But, you know, that's a big thing. That's a big Ayn Rand thing. That's a big, like,
right.
All these people are ideologically against empathy, against sympathy, against social safety nets, against government being in the business of protecting people. They're very, very twisted individuals, right?
And just going back to the idea of watching more international films reminds you to have empathy for people you may otherwise be othering.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Like you can be a person who's never traveled ever in your whole life, but if you love international cinema, I guarantee you're going to have a liberal right there. Somebody who's going to understand that we're all people and that we all have to respect each other, regardless of how those people dress, how they eat, how they believe. You know, What's it to you? Like, you know, I've always this paranoia of the autocrats. You know, the kind of the it's all based on a kind of deviancy and a kind of paranoia that somehow if somebody else wins, that means we lose.
Yeah, they think it's some kind of zero-sum game.
It's a zero-sum game, and it's like it's so fucking twisted and ridiculous. That's why these kinds of movies are crucial, right? Mm-hmm. So whether it's slow or you don't find, or like, hey, where's the car crash? It's like, no, this is good for you. This will teach you that when we're with this group of Iranian people, you like them, first of all. You want to hang out with them. They're not that different from any place else because everybody's watching the internet and all that stuff, right? And so, you know, same looking, you know, like the women. None of the women wear a headscarf. in the movie, right? So, there again, that's the subtlety that he's saying, right? That what you've come to believe is merely kind of images in your head that you've chosen to kind of like believe,
Yeah.
But these are other images now, right? They'll counter that, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to allow yourself a diet of some real, take a look at the films from any culture and you'll see them, who they are. Right?
And the Tunisian film I was talking about earlier, The Voice of Hind Rajab, is very much like that as well, because no matter where you're from or no matter what your position is on the Israel-Hamas war, you're going to watch this movie and just be shattered.
Right.
And you're going to identify with all of the characters in the film who are trying to help rescue this little girl. And it's
because that's humane.
Just humane. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know there's a lot of arguments these days about we have to do this. We have to kill all these children in order to, protect some lineage or some legacy of, the past. This is not just Israel. I mean, it's Israel right now, but that's ISIS's game too. That's all. That's Putin's game too. All of these people are sort of regressive. What do you call them? Crusaders, right? They want to go back to a caliphate. They want to go back to the original Russia. They want to go back to they want to make greater Israel.
Or according to RFK Jr., people were so much healthier in the early 1960s. Don't forget about that.
Such an idiot. I think the brainworm is doing most of the talking.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, because the U.S. administration is very much like that. The whole right-wing, credo is, the world was a better place, back in the 1950s.
Well, the world was a better place when it's always kind
as long as you're a white male. I
guess.
guess.
It's always, yes. Yes. And it's always brought together with this concept of masculinity, patriarchy, the dad, the replacing the family, and the thing, I don't want to talk about Charlie Kirk, but the whole thing that I found super interesting about this whole Charlie Kirk thing was, this idea that what he was really kind of pushing more than anything was what's called great replacement theory, right?
Right.
And there's this paranoia of white people. I'm not saying it's most white people, but it's like a significant portion of white people who are basically saying the other is here to replace us. It's like, what? Would you shut the fuck up? Who? We're not even thinking about you guys. People of color are not going around, whoa, let's try to get rid of the white people. There's nobody's thinking about that. The difference is that
so much fear.
I know there's so much fear that we're going to be replaced. We're going to be replaced. But just live alongside, man. Nobody's replacing you. Nobody's telling you to go anywhere.
There's enough for everybody.
I know.
It's just unfortunate that the 1% are trying to hog. The
30% who support Trump, right? And though at this point, if you're supporting Trump when he's clearly a pedophile, I think, in my opinion, clearly 15 years best friend Epstein. If you're still supporting Trump at this point, you are 100% racist. You're into this kind of great replacement thing. If you're Canadian, same thing. This shit is all over the world.
It's all over everywhere. Yeah.
Where there are
lots in Canada.
Tons in Canada.
Tons.
Yeah. There's a lot of idiots here, right? I just think forget about, you don't have to travel the world. You don't have to go and become friends with an Iranian guy. Just watch the cultural products, right?
Yeah.
Those are produced. And you can go back to 1969, by the way, for Iranian cinema. There was a guy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a movie called The Cow by Dusan I can't remember his last name.
He's a Czech filmmaker.
No. He's an Iranian filmmaker. I'm saying Iranian cinema, even back in the 60s, this is the late 60s, there was this strain of this kind of humanistic, very beautiful, very accomplished cinema, right? So it's not like it just started in the 80s when we started seeing Abbas Kiarostami movies. Yeah. It's in their culture. And this, again, America is 200 years old, okay? Or 200 and some years old. Iran is thousands of years old. You cannot talk about, you're lecturing these other cultures. Yeah, I don't agree with Iranian governments. I don't believe in any kind of theocracy, but but this is a culture with a rich history and a rich, a history of poetry and music and art, and this is the thing that I hate about what's going on in our world now. It's like, I think that these guys would easily say, well, why is this guy winning? Like, can you imagine if
well,
like,
you remember what Trump said about Parasite, the South Korean film winning the best picture.
It should be an American.
Should be an American.
Yeah, yeah, and
thing.
And like, what is that? That's stupid, right? So
that's the replacement theory right there. Right?
It is, and it's dangerous because people
very much
people can make it make sense on some level, right? They'll be like, well, that makes sense. I don't want to be replaced. It doesn't seem as ugly when you say it on the surface. It's like, well, it's true. There's more brown people coming in.
It makes it just even more insidious.
Yeah, but it's also like, whose fault is who's what are you talking about? You're not going anywhere. So if now like Los Angeles is 51% Latino and 49% white, so what's changed? Like what's really changed here? Like, it's not like we still don't have pure white, governments, pure white CEOs, pure white. All the power is still in the white man's hands, right? So just give me a fucking break, it makes zero sense to me. But this great replacement theory has been around for like 100 years. Yeah. So what I think all these these movies really teach us is that these are people who are unwilling or incapable of self-reflection. They can't see themselves doing the very thing that they're complaining about from others, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that seems to be a real problem for about 30% of the population. I don't know why.
They just need to see more international films.
That's right. And
then the world will be a better place.
That's right. So I'm going to make it, when I become president,
yes,
I'm going to make it mandatory that everybody has to watch foreign films every day.
Do you happen to know what Donald Trump's favorite movie of all time is?
Yeah, because I saw that Errol Morris thing. It was Citizen Kane, right? Kane. Which is also like, of course, everybody says Citizen Kane, right? So, it wasn't a real risky choice for him,
No, but
he missed the whole point. Yeah.
Going back to the self.
Hey, just forget about
self-awareness.
He's too caught up on his sled. Gotta let it go, let go.
Oh boy! So there you go. There's your lesson today.
There's your lesson today.
It's our long-winded way of saying watch more foreign films.
Did you just say I was long-winded?
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to other you right now. You are my other.
Thank you, Azed. And with that, folks, we will see you out there in the dark.
Yeah, it's kind of a creepy ending, don't you think so?
Yeah, we should work on that.
Yeah, maybe it sounds a bit like a serial killer.
Okay, let's
see you out there in the dark.
Okay, well, think about something else.
I'm going to kill you.